What if you could look at the world as if it was your playground and you could just imagine and dream up things and they would become reality? What if a robot dog would be following me around all day? Or what if I could color the walls of my room with my mood? What if you could just create anything that comes to mind? In this video, I will cover 5 principles on how to think like a creative technologist, because they have a habit of turning concepts and ideas into action with creative problem solving. I will timestamp the 5 principles into the description as well. My name is Sky and I have over 15 years of experience in the art and design field. After my master's in future design, I learned how to develop my own apps and tools, and then I started working in the generative AI field as an early adopter. Now I'm creating something for creative frontiers and creative explorers, so if that's you, please help me by filling out this survey that I added to the description. I like to think about creative technologists as frontiers or explorers, people that are on the intersection of art, design, creative, and technology, and that are always on the lookout for new opportunities, new ideas, to move people, to speak to people their emotions, to use psychology, to use physics, all kinds of perspectives combined to create new ideas and concepts that don't yet exist. I also think of them as people that are very determined to bring things to life and to start building really cool stuff. With the rise of generative AI, we see a lot of fast food content and visuals flooding the creative space. Where in the past a designer would spend hours and hours creating the perfect poster, or you would take a week or days to shoot a video, now anyone can just with a few clicks get an AI-generated result. To stand a chance as a creator these days, you need to take your process a step further. You need to take everything that makes you human and that makes you you. Take all the life experiences you've had and blend it into the mix to stand out and to be original. The easiest way to think outside of the box and to come up with new ideas is to use your full capacity and all your potential to build new concepts. And that's exactly what the creative technology concept is about. It's about stepping away from the traditional repetitive recipes and creating a completely new meal with the ingredients that you have available for you. And sometimes that ends up with some really weird combinations that you tried, but they actually taste so good. I would say creative technologists are very stubborn, because as soon as you kind of tried a bunch of things, and especially if you get a little bit familiar with the technology side of things, you find out that nothing is impossible. And this is the most important mindset. Don't let an idea scare you because you think it's impossible or it's too complex to accomplish. You have to think in solutions as crazy as they might come. Use anything you have available to get to where you want to go. You might even find some better ways to do it along the way, but never compromise on your goal. A creative technologist might spend hours to make a small piece of work, but they will not give up. If you run into something that might solve the problem, but you don't know about it, or you are not familiar with it, be curious, dive into it, learn something new, because this is where you develop the skills that you will, in your next projects, already have as one of the ingredients available to you. And if it seems like there is no direct solution available, there might just be some research out there. There might be an open source GitHub project you could make use of. Or you can ask someone for help or let AI help you. Think of all these challenges as an opportunity to grow and an opportunity to learn something new. Dive into it, don't run away from something that scares you, but get closer to it, like the blonde girls into a horror movie. One way to keep expanding your list of opportunities and tools you have available to yourself is by staying up to date by latest developments. So you might want to bookmark some pages that give updates on new things. You might want to subscribe to a community, to tutorial pages, maybe a newsletter. These are all ways to get more information that you can use later on. If it's difficult for you to think outside of the box, or to find inspiration, a good way to start is with a mind map. And this is all about connections. You start with a topic or a word. You can even start with yourself, and then you start writing down different words that somehow connected to it. And once you have a bunch of words connected, you can move to the next step and you take one of these new words and start writing connections towards that word. And it doesn't even need to stay related through the first words, but this is where you can go really creative and find new ways of thinking and new ways to connect different perspectives. And if you keep going with this, at some point I promise there will be some words that right away bring all kinds of inspiration to you, that bubble up completely new ideas and excites you. You can even practice this outside without paper. I like to go on walks, and it's very mindful to kind of look at something and think about what it makes you think about. And then think about what that makes you think about. And you start training your brain just to think in connections. So that is one really inside way of thinking way to think about connections. The other one is more about practical connections. Because when you have all kinds of different pieces, maybe different perspective, maybe different tools you want to work with, you also need to at some point combine and connect those pieces. You will start thinking about how to mix these ingredients so it works together towards your goal. This can be through cables, through automation, to scripts, but it doesn't need to even be that technical. It could be a mood board, a video, just documenting, templates. So you just find a medium how you are going to bring everything together. You don't have to be able to code or be super technical to create a prototype. Sure, technical skills can come in very handy and very useful, especially if you're trying to build something interactive, but you don't need to think of it as something that's done. The last thing you want a prototype to be is a final result. And you can totally fake it till you make it. Create some handles to change things manually. You can even build something from scrap wood, from paper. You can create some templates or just sketches. It's all about experimentation, because with a prototype you can try out if it's reaching your goal, if it's doing what you expected, and you can really easily manipulate or change things if it didn't work out. Creative technologists actually thrive on imperfection because it's an interesting change. It's an interesting finding when something is not perfect or not working. So don't give up if something doesn't work out, because something failing can be a really interesting insight, and it can be even the outcome. A failing proof of concept is also a proof of concept, and it can definitely be worth sharing. Creative technologists, and I believe creatives in general, always like to create projects or concepts that make people experience or feel something and makes them never forget. We often use the word immersion to describe the feeling of being completely engaged with an experience. It's like diving into the ocean and all of a sudden you see all these different surroundings. You see the coral, you see the fishes, and you are completely forgetting about what's above the surface. It's because it's all around you. It's engaging with all of your senses. It's what you see, it's what you hear, it's what you feel, maybe even taste. The more senses we touch in an experience, the more it's memorable and the more we feel like it's gonna stick with us forever. Sometimes to get through to your audience and their daily distractions, you need to take them out of where they are into a new environment. And this is also where mixed reality comes in. Like virtual reality and the metaverse, they are really good examples of creating an immersive experience. But we also talk about immersion when we talk about museums, concerts, escape rooms, or even music or books. Storytelling is a really important part of it. It's the oldest art form and it really touches people. It can stick with you in your mind forever. Like someone can be completely engaged and completely in a different world when just reading a book. And the cool thing about storytelling is that anyone can play with these elements and it's quite easy to learn. So it's another perspective that you can mix into your list of ingredients. And if you want to learn more about it, you can start just Googling for the hero's journey. It's like the structure that the most compelling stories are based upon. So think about stories, but also think about sounds, about taste maybe. This way you might actually have a lot more ingredients available than you thought. Creative technologists also really love using human psychology and human senses to provoke reactions. Instead of passively consuming content, all of a sudden we feel like we're part of something. This is why games are so interesting, because they often feel immersive and interactive. We have this feeling of control when we can move something or we can see how something reacts to us. And it just makes us feel good as humans. There are a lot of possibilities when you learn how to write a script or develop some automations, but even without programming, it's quite easy to implement some feedback to a user or some rewards or some gamification. Think, for example, about the book for kids. Sometimes you have this book where you open a page and instead of having just a normal page with letters and text, there is a little pocket that you can open. A 10 out of 10 you would open that pocket because it's a nice feeling, something exciting and something surprising to do. Our brains are just wired to engage when we are asked for it. And actually 100% you will like these pages more than the other pages because of the element of surprise. Another great example is interactive storytelling tools. There are some tools online that let you write not just the story, but also create interactions for someone to choose in what direction they want the story to go to. So they can choose if the character is going this way or that way, and that will have a slightly different story where they can again make changes from. And so it becomes this tree of stories with all kind of different branches. And an example of this is the Netflix interactive series that they've done. It makes a project a lot more work, of course, but it definitely helps to stand out. This is the decade of creative technologies, because with the coming of AI, a lot of creatives are just accepting technology and embracing it as a new, huge advantage. It's always good to widen your perspective and blend together and mix together perspectives from all kinds of fields. If you are exploring your options, thinking about creative technology, or you already consider yourself a creative frontier, I would love to get in touch. I'm building this community of inspiring and sharing people with a similar mindset, and so I would really love you to be a part of that. Just write me a quick comment and I will for sure get back to you. If you made it to the end of this video, wow, thank you so much. Please don't forget to hit a like on this video if you liked it and maybe subscribe to my channel so then we can see each other around.